The terms herbs and spices are often used interchangeably, and while both do come from plants to season food, herbs and spices are made from different parts or sections of plants and are also processed in different ways. Herbs are made from the leafy green part of the plant, like sage, tarragon, mint, parsley, and oregano, for example. Spices come from the root, stem, seed, fruit, flower, or bark of a tree or plant, like black pepper, which is a dried fruit, or cloves, which are dried flower buds, or vanilla, which is dried and cured seed pod. Today, we're making an entree, dessert, and drink using rosemary, an herb, and fennel, which is an herb and a spice because we use its feathery green fronds and seeds. First, the honey rosemary iced tea. So we have about 4 to 6 cups of boiling water in a pitcher. We're going to put in our black tea. Just add your tea bags to the water. Then we're going to stir in about 1/3 cup of honey or to taste, and we're going to stir it in until it's dissolved. All right, and then once your honey is dissolved, we're gonna add about 3 or 4 sprigs of rosemary. There you go. And we're gonna let this chill in the fridge while we prepare the other dishes. So for the chocolate and fennel seed mini cakes, we're gonna first preheat the oven to 355 degrees. Then we're going to grease 4 small ramekins and place them on a baking tray and fill the tray with boiling water until the water is about 1/4 inch deep. Then, in a large bowl, we're going to sift together 1 cup of flour. You can use a 1-to-1 ratio of gluten-free flour if you prefer. So we're just gonna sift this into the bowl. All right, then we're gonna also sift in 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. All right, and then we're going to sift in 1/4 cup of almond flour. Just sift it all together until it's nice and fine. All right. And then we're going to add a generous tablespoon of ground fennel seeds. Now I recommend dry roasting them before grinding them to a fine powder. Then we're gonna add 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. And then we're gonna add a pinch of salt into this bowl. All right, now we're just gonna mix it all together very well. All right, so once that's well combined, we're gonna have in another bowl, we're gonna mix together all of our wet ingredients. So we have first 3 eggs. Then we're gonna do 1/2 cup of oil. So you can use vegetable, sunflower, canola, or avocado oil. Any of them will work for this recipe. Then we have 1/2 cup of vanilla yogurt. And then last but not least, we have 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. All right, so you're gonna whisk this all together very, very well. All right, and then you're going to add 1 cup of castor sugar. And you're gonna mix this all together really, really well until the sugar dissolves. So fennel has a distinctive fragrance that's similar to anise or licorice. When it's eaten raw, it can have a sweet and mild flavor, like when it's sliced thinly and added to a salad. Cooking fennel brings out more of its sweetness, so it works well with desserts, but it also works well braised, roasted, sautéed, and grilled for other recipes. So now that we have the sugar fully dissolved, we're going to add this to our flour mixture. All right, and we're gonna fold it together until it's just combined. You do not want to overwork the batter. So once it's just combined, we're going to put it into our ramekins. So they're already greased and they're in boiling water in this pan. All right, and I like to use a measuring cup to fill them. We're gonna fill them about 2/3 of the way full. Just like this. All right, so now we're going to very carefully place this in the oven for about 35 to 45 minutes or until a toothpick comes out slightly moist. To finish the honey rosemary iced tea, remove the tea bags and add some water and ice.
Plants are mentioned throughout the Bible, starting in Genesis 1 when God gave his image bearers plants for food. The next time you notice plants mentioned in Scripture, see how that helps give deeper insight into the historical significance of the Bible. Something as small as a mustard seed can connect the flavors we experience today to the parables Jesus spoke thousands of years ago.
And there you have it, a delicious honey rosemary iced tea and chocolate fennel seed mini cakes.